board of trustees for St. Pete College. We have the chairman, Jason Butts, and we have trustees Gibbons, Cole, and Kidwell. So I want to thank you guys for all your hard work, and we're excited about what's going on throughout our whole university and college system, but particularly here at St. Pete College. Now, the backdrop for today's announcement is just recently, for the second year in a row, we were ranked the top economy in the nation by CNBC. Believe me, media does not like ranking Florida high. They do that begrudgingly, but they do. We're #1 in new business formation since I took office in 2019. We've been #1 in net in-migration for many, many years, particularly since I've been governor. We've added 220,000 jobs over the past year, and 6,000 of those have been manufacturing jobs. And since I've been governor, I think we're now over 100,000 manufacturing jobs that have been added in the state of Florida, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. 44 consecutive months, Florida's unemployment rate has been lower than the national unemployment rate. Florida employers have added jobs in 47 of the last 49 months since May 2020 with COVID. And over the year, private sector job growth has exceeded the nation's for 39 consecutive months. And if you look at economic growth, since I took office in 2019 to the present, the U.S. economy has grown 11%. The state of Florida's economy has grown 22%. So we've doubled the nation in economic growth. And we've really been a big engine for the country. There's a lot of places that really have not fully even recovered from COVID, to be quite frank, in terms of what they're doing. Now, we're doing this in a way that's much different than what the federal government's doing. So we signed the budget in June, and it actually reduced spending year over year. That's not what's happening, of course, in Washington. So we had a reduction in spending, yet we had record funding for K through 12 education, record funding for teacher salary increases, of course, our colleges and universities. We had record funding for Everglades restoration and other conservation environmental stewardship efforts. We had record funding for highway construction and some of the things we need for the roads to improve and to build new ones. We cut taxes by $1.5 billion, which is the second most in history. The year before that was the most that we've ever done in the state of Florida. And we were able to run a massive budget surplus. Since I took office in 2019, the entire debt of the history of the state of Florida from the 1800s to now, we've paid off 36% of it just in the last 5.5 years. And so we're continuing to do that. In the budget, we have an accelerated debt repayment program that we've done to keep doing that. And we only do it when it makes sense, because sometimes you have these bonds and it's cheap, but sometimes you can retire early and save money. So we're doing all of those things and doing it really, really well. And so we're proud of that. One of the things that we've done is focus on workforce development and focus on education. And yes, higher education in terms of universities, that gets a lot of pub. We're ranked #1 for our public university system yet again. I mean, that's many years in a row now that's the case. Of course, not only is that good that is here in Florida, but we have not, since I've been governor, the amount of tuition that has increased since I've been governor is zero. Not 1 penny of tuition increase for our university. So, you're looking at, if you're a Floridian and you have kids going through school, you could look to see, and look, it's not easy to get into these universities. I mean, when I was growing up in Pinellas and going to Dunning High, a state university was just considered you had to be a good student, but you did not have to be top of the charts. That's hard now. It's hard to get in University of Florida. It's hard to get in some of these places, which is really, really good testament, and we're happy. But you can send your son or daughter to a state university, and the tuition's about $6,300 on average for a Florida resident. Our scholarship program for K-12 is more than $6,300 per student. In terms of you go to a private 8th grade or 12th grade, that's more expensive than going to the top public university system in the United States of America. And if you are one of those top performing students, we fully funded Bright Future scholarships. You get zero tuition. And if you're a great student, but maybe just one step below, you get 75% reduction with the Bright Futures. And so we've done very, very well with higher education. The quality, making sure it's focused on the core mission of education, not devolving into things like Columbia University, where you have this crazed atmosphere. You know, we basically said, you're going to try to take over our student lawns, you're gone. We're not going to put up with it. It's just not happening. And so I think having the right frame of mind has been very important. I think that's what parents want. And I think we're going to continue to do that. So that's been really, really good. And we're proud of all that. And I think the sky's the limit to what we're going to be able to do. I just tell some of these, like the University of Florida, Wall Street Journal ranked it #1 for all public universities in America. Can you imagine that? That's pretty impressive when you're going up against University of Virginia and some of these other ones. We just need them to be #1 in football again, and maybe Florida State. Who knows, right? We got to get some of them. We've had a pretty, this was a pretty good run. We had some good college sports. I mean, both UF and FSU made it to College World Series in baseball in Omaha. We went up for the first weekend. They made it to the top 4, but they didn't make it to the finals. Florida State had a good run with football. The Gators are in a very tough conference. I mean, like, there is no margin for error. The SEC, I am very happy that Nick Saban is enjoying retirement, because he was tough to beat when he was at Alabama. So hopefully we'll start to see some things there. And we do need to get this name, image, and likeness and transfer portal straightened out, because, like, look, I signed one of the first NIL bills. I mean, my view was, if they're selling your jersey with your name on it and they're making money off you, you have a right to do this. As America. How come someone could be in, like, the band and they could do a YouTube channel, make money, but just because you're an athlete, you can't? So that was the right direction to go. But now I think what's happened with this transfer portal, it's almost like yearly free agency. You play for one team, then you go and say, well, I can make more money here or that. So I think there needs to be a framework in place. And I've talked to some other governors about maybe we can kind of come together on some things. I don't think Congress is ever going to address this. They can't address anything. So, but I think that will really be important, because the college sports is important. It's something that, and you grew up in Florida. In my generation, I mean, man, we were so fortunate to have really, really strong programs, particularly in football. So we want to do that. So all that being said, is we're proud of our public university system. But as much as we've put emphasis on that, there is way more ways to be successful than to just go to one 4-year brick and ivy university and get a degree. That's one way you could be successful. It's also one way that people have gone deep into debt in other parts of the country. Obviously $6,300. I mean, how much does it cost to go to a mid-tier private university? Most places are, I bet you 50, I mean, is tuition anywhere under $50,000 in some of those places? It's nuts. And so what happened was, and I think my generation, I remember being told, you got to go to 4-year college, you got to go to university. There's a lot of students that went down that road, went deep into debt. Some of them didn't even graduate and don't have a degree. Others have a degree in things that aren't exactly lighting the world on fire. And so now they're in a situation where it's been very, very difficult. And, this whole student loan stuff, first of all, Biden doesn't have the authority to do what he's doing. I mean, you can't just put that burden on the taxpayer through executive fiat. And if you have somebody that decided not to go take out loans and go to college, maybe they're driving a truck or they're doing something else, they're going to be on the hook, for someone that got a degree in, like, British art. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. But a lot of these loans, these big universities made a lot of money off these loans. And so I think the university should be on the hook for people that can't pay back their loans. You have a responsibility. If you're taking all that loan money, you got to produce students that are going to be able to make their way in the world. And if you can't do it, then you shouldn't be getting this loan money. So that's been a negative, I think, a big negative on higher education in the last generation. So there are ways where you don't go down that pathway. And state colleges and I know they do have 4-year degrees now, but you have so many programs where you can go in at low cost and get equipped with skills where you can really apply that in a very meaningful way. We even do that in high school in the state of Florida. You can get certificates for welding, for aircraft. I mean, Elon Musk has hired kids out of high school over on the Space Course of Florida to go to SpaceX. You have people graduating in the Tampa Bay area who have job offers to work at the Port of Tampa because they have these skills. So we really believe in doing what we can to provide opportunities for our young people and, honestly, people who may be transitioning in life and wanting to go back and get skills that maybe they didn't get when they were younger. We want to be able to provide those pathways for folks. So when I became governor, I made all the points I just made, and I said, we're in the bottom half of states for workforce education, and our goal is to be #1 by 2030. And I can proudly report we are not only well on our way, we are ahead of schedule on achieving that goal, and we're going to continue to do it. So what type of skill? And there's different. I mean, you have folks who, you talk about these manufacturing jobs. Well, when we're producing high school students that have skills in welding, when they were producing skills in electrical, when we're producing high school students in HVAC, in a state like Florida, all that is going to be in demand. You are going to be employed. There's no question about that. And I think the good thing about that type of education is you get those skills, you work, you have opportunities to start your own business in those fields. I mean, our state is not getting less populated. We have more and more people coming. I am not recruiting anybody because, I mean, we've got a lot of people and there's positives, but then there's other things. But it's like it's a free country and people are voting with their feet, so they're doing it. Well, guess what? You know, we need more people to have, we need more electricians out there. We need more people that can fix your AC. We need all this other stuff. So those are going to be great opportunities. Then you also have other fields that are in high demand, like nursing. So we've put huge amounts of money into various nursing programs. In fact, I think, you know, it's funny how this works with the budget. You know, I started talking about nursing, especially during, like when COVID hit, you saw all these problems. Nurses were like hired guns, basically, sending around the country. The hospitals were paying huge amounts, I mean, like ungodly sums of money. You literally could be working at a hospital, making a certain amount of money, go to work for a private nursing firm, end up doing the same job you were doing anyways at like 2 to 3 times as much. So clearly, you know, that's going to be something that's attractive to them, but it put a crunch on the system because people are fighting. So it's like, you know, we need to provide more. So we've done all this stuff. I mean, we've done 150 million, but I think word got out that like that's something that I thought was good for the state. So in this year's budget, it's like if you just put the word nurse in it, they thought that somehow like nurse, all this other stuff. No, I mean, you know, we want to channel that in ways that could be productive, but nevertheless, we've had huge amounts of investment in that, and we're proud of that, and I think that's going to start bearing fruit. So you have that. Then you also have things, and I think St. Pete College is doing this in a variety of different ways. We have other state colleges that are doing anything where we're talking about skills that, you know, maybe you couldn't do in like a high school program, more advanced things that will really be meaningful to the economy, to also our overall state interests and even our national interests. And so that's why we're here today, because I think that St. Pete College has an opportunity to not only build off what Florida is doing with workforce education, but to take this in a direction that is going to be very good for the people that go through the programs, good to attract businesses, but important for not just the state of Florida's best interest, but even our nation's best interest. And so today, I'm pleased to award $7.2 million here to St. Pete College to help us. You don't even know what it's for yet. Gets better. $7.2 million to St. Petersburg College to establish the Semiconductor, Artificial Intelligence, and Machine Learning Training for Technicians, Smart Tech 4.0 Lab. So this is $3.2 million through the Job Growth Grant Fund, $4 million through the Department of Education's Workforce Development Capitalization Grant Program. This will be enough money to purchase equipment, hire personnel, build facilities, and produce training materials. Now, semiconductors have become the lifeblood of the modern economy. for good and for ill. I mean, look, I think these kids on these phones has gotten way too much. I think it's been great that when we did the Teachers' Bill of Rights last year, we said teachers have a right to teach in a cell phone-free classroom where kids are actually at least trying to pay attention, or at least having to fake it rather than be buried in their phones the whole time. It's not good. So, but this technology is everywhere. The semiconductors are a lifeblood of this. So much of it comes from overseas. I know that they tried to do something in the federal government with this chips. I think it's been a bust so far. I think there's all these ridiculous requirements that companies are saying that they don't want to be a part of it. So we're trying to do this in a way that is providing trained workforce, and I think that'll be a good incentive to bring some capital to Florida to do this. But this is very high skill, very high-tech industry for our state. We have invested hundreds of millions of dollars into growing these various sectors in our state, and some of it is through workforce programs, some of it is for things. I mean, we have the biggest supercomputer at University of Florida. We got it from one of the founders of NVIDIA, came and donated that. And that was a couple years ago. NVIDIA's stock's gone up a lot since then, so he probably has more he could give. But you see that. So we want to do that. This is a national security issue. If you look at the geopolitics, particularly of the Far East, you look at the U.S. posture, I would say inadequate posture in the Far East vis-a-vis China. Taiwan is the #1 producer of that in terms of supplying our economy. I think you could deter China from eventually attacking Taiwan. I don't know whether that's going to happen on this trajectory, but the bottom line is there's a lot of uncertainty with respect to this, and this has the opportunity, if those chips aren't being produced, to really crash the economy. So this is something that, yes, the jobs will be good. Yes, we have opportunity for business development, but we need to do this stuff here in the United States. It's very, very important that we do. So we're proud to have leaned in on this. I think we've done smart investments throughout the state in ways that other states just simply have not. Now, we do, part of this is the Job Growth Grant Fund, the $3.2 million. That's a fund that the legislature appropriates for the governor, and basically we solicit people that have proposals, and it's either workforce development or infrastructure, of course, all leading to economic development and job growth. So we've been able to do this across a wide variety of areas. We've done things like beef up the commercial driver's licenses opportunities, produce truck drivers. We were doing, I think, 600 truck drivers a year when I became governor. Now we're doing, I think it's like 3,500 a year that we're doing it. I mean, that's supply chain, logistics, things that are really important. Those are also six-figure jobs usually right out of training in many instances. So we've done that. We've done things like there may be an industrial park somewhere and they don't have connectivity to the main highways, and we'll build a road. Or we'll do something to expand an airport. And these things have been very, very beneficial. So that's part of it. The $4 million through the Department of Education's Workforce Development Capitalization Grant Program. This is a really, really significant program. So this program gives grants to school districts and to state colleges to create or expand career and technical education programs. And so we started it last year. We've awarded over $100 million to support the creation or expansion of 266 CTE programs in industry, including semiconductors, manufacturing, agriculture, and cybersecurity. And of the $100 million that we've done since the program's inception, more than $49 million have funded semiconductor and advanced manufacturing training programs. So we're focusing, I think, where we need to be focused on, the things that are going to provide the most return on the investment. And, the funds awarded through this grant program must be used for CTE programs that also support secondary education CTE programs. So that means here in St. Pete College, that getting these funds means they're going to expand dual enrollment opportunities for our high school students. So you're going to St. Pete High. You could have had like Kidwell back in the day. Could be you go to St. Pete. He could be going here to St. Pete College and participating in an AI training. So this is also really, really good for high school students to be able to participate in this. And I think that that's going to make a big difference. And we have more opportunities for high school students to earn college credit and other types of post-secondary credit than any state in the country. I mean, we obviously have IB programs. We have the Cambridge that's brought in. We have advanced placement, but then the dual enrollment. To me, look, if you're going to go and pursue education beyond high school in one of our Florida institutions, the dual enrollment is really, really where it's at, because you earn the credit. It's not based on kind of one national test that your teacher may or not have taught to it. I mean, I know most of them do a good job with it, but this is just, you're there, you're graded, and you go. So I'm a big believer in the dual enrollment, particularly as more and more students want to stay in Florida for education. So this is going to be a big deal. This new lab is going to help fortify our standing as the #1 state for talent development in the nation. We're currently #1 for talent development, and that was not true 20 years ago. So we're proud of that. It's also going to be able to teach students really significant and applicable skills that they will immediately be able to use upon graduation. And it's interesting with the economy. Florida's obviously outperformed the nation, by leaps and bounds. You have this situation where kind of like the prices on everything have been really, really difficult. Congress has spent, they've borrowed, president, all this stuff has driven this. Well, how do you get out of inflation? Well, one, stop spending so much. I would not bet Congress will ever stop doing that. I just think their incentives are. What's another way that you can do? Increase productivity. You talk to economists. If productivity increases, it can bring prices down, or at least put a downward pressure on that. All this stuff is really, you're talking about very productive endeavors that are happening, and it's going to make our businesses stronger. So we're proud of this. We're proud of the Job Growth Grant Fund, and I think the sky's the limit with what we're doing here in St. Pete College. So I want to thank everybody that's been involved in this. I think that this could be something that you see replicated in other parts of the state as we start to see the fruits from this investment. So congratulations to St. Pete College for the $7.3 million, and I know you'll put it to good work. And before we get moving on that, actually, I will present the check right now to Dr. Williams. $7.2 million. Okay. All right, here we go. All right, Manny Diaz, come on up.
Good morning. It's great to be with you here on this great campus at St. Petersburg College, and I want to thank President Tanja Williams for her commitment and for hosting us. I want to thank the governor for his commitment to career technical education and to our workforce, because as he often says, education is not one size fits all, and we are going to provide a choice in Florida regardless of what level, whether you're in first grade or you're going to try to go into the workforce. A traditional four-year degree doesn't always lead to a high-paying job, and the skills that students can learn in career technical education can pay off without having to be saddled with debt. Industries like manufacturing, semiconductors, cybersecurity, and construction all have high demand and high-wage jobs available that don't require a four-year degree. This is why our governor has set a goal for Florida to be #1 in workforce by 2030, a goal that I fully expect us to meet and surpass. And I know, and I'm thankful that President Tanja Williams and her colleagues in the state college system, along with our school districts, are heavily involved and committed to make sure we meet that goal. Today's award of $4 million through the Workforce Development CAP grant will provide new opportunities for students in Pinellas counties in advanced manufacturing, semiconductor industries, both industries that are growing across the state. As you heard, the governor mentioned the importance not only for our state, but for national security. This funding will allow St. Petersburg College to create a state-of-the-art lab space and classroom that will help purchase equipment, technology to support student success. Through these new programs, students will be able to earn industry certifications in robotics, manufacturing operations, and network systems, which will support careers as electrical engineers, industrial engineers, and semiconductor processing technicians, while all saving money, not being saddled with debt, and being right here in our state college system. The Workforce Development CAP grant program does more than just provide more dual enrollment opportunities for high school students. This program helps catalyze the future of career and technical education and our workforce right here in the state. Not only can state colleges apply for funds through Workforce Development CAP Incentive Grant, but also districts can utilize these funds to expand secondary CTE opportunities that allows us, and this is a conversation that I was having earlier with President Williams and the trustees, is having the ability to reach these students early and get them a pathway where they understand where they're going. And one thing that it does, it creates hope, because sometimes students are being pushed towards college or university, and that's not what they had in mind, and they lose the incentive. But providing these opportunities, and they see the light at the end of the tunnel, especially right here in this community where we are. I know it's important to you, Senator Roussan, as well. We can provide that opportunity. And these students can leave high school with tangible skills and, again, debt-free. Last year, we awarded $100 million through the Workforce Development CAP grant, awarding funds to 50 schools, school districts, and 14 state colleges. These awards will lead to led to the creation and expansion of 266 programs across the state. So I'm proud that the Department of Education is joining forces with the Department of Commerce so we can make a bigger impact across the state. And the students here at St. Petersburg College will benefit through the Job Growth Grant Fund Award and the Workforce CAP Grant. The Department of Education is committed to providing every student with the best opportunities to succeed, whether they're in first grade or they're in college. Under the bold leadership of our governor, Florida's talent pipeline will continue to grow, attracting new businesses to the state while providing new opportunities for all of our students in Florida. I'm proud to continue to work with our school districts and state colleges to grow our CTE programs and opportunity even further for our students and the state of Florida. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor DeSantis, and welcome to St. Petersburg College's Midtown campus, the home of the new Smart Tech Manufacturing Lab. Your investment in workforce development training is a testament to your commitment to empowering Florida's workforce and driving prosperity throughout the state. It underscores your strategic vision for Florida to lead in growing a skilled and competitive labor market. Thank you so much. This investment would not be possible without Commissioner Manny Diaz and our Chancellor Kevin O'Farrell from the Florida Department of Education and Deputy Secretary Jason Mahone and his team from the Florida Commerce. We're very grateful to this overwhelming support for SPC's new Smart Tech initiative. Thank you to our Board of Trustees for your leadership and your guidance, our elected officials, business and community partners, and members of my beloved St. Petersburg College family. The Florida Job Growth and Workforce Development Capitalization Incentive Grants will help us build a new South County Smart Tech Manufacturing Hub in the heart of the Midtown community in St. Petersburg. This manufacturing hub is focused on advanced manufacturing. That is one of the region's most targeted industries here in the Tampa Bay area. We will offer accessible and high-quality training and degree options in areas such as semiconductor, mechatronics, automation, and robotics. Programs of skill that advances completers to an exciting career and making a lot of money. Some of the certifications are short-term and could be completed in as few as 15 weeks. The goal is to get individuals to work faster and in jobs that provide an excellent career pathway. Not only will this training hub help adult learners, but it will also build the manufacturing pipeline for the future by offering dual enrollment courses in clean room technology and semiconductor through an associate's degree. Our employer partners, we could not do this without you. You've stood in the gap with us from the very beginning. And I just want to read the names of a few of those who have been here with us from the beginning. Plasmatherm, Honeywell, Jabil, Lockheed Martin, and EEI Manufacturing, not to mention Pinellas County Government, Pinellas County Schools, and CareerSource and our Urban League. At St. Petersburg College, we are striving to provide students with an education that leads to better jobs so they can live better lives and we can build better communities. Mr. Governor, today you brought us closer to that goal. Your bold commitment to funding workforce training in the great state of Florida has made all the difference. It's a game changer. Thank you for making the lives of Floridians a priority through education. We appreciate you. We appreciate the work. This manufacturing hub is going to help a lot of individuals make more money, live better lives, and enjoy what they have accomplished for generations to come. And we want to thank all of those workforce partners out there, those who want to join me and give us more equipment and money and help. We will be glad to take that. All I can say is, together we are stronger. Let's do this.
All right. Well, it's exciting because I think this is just one little data point in a larger story about how Florida's economy is really has a lot of avenues that you're going to continue to see growth. We have seen growth. I mean, it used to be we were basically agriculture and tourism and very little other than that. And then that's changed over the years, but particularly in the last 5 years, particularly since I've been governor, you know, we're now seeing financial services this is a huge thing in Florida. You've got a lot of these people have moved from New York to Miami to West Palm and in other parts of the state, but that's been a major migration, and I think you're going to continue to see that happening. Of course, things like tourism are better than ever. We've led consistently the country in tourism. Of course, during COVID, particularly the first year or so, we were like the only place you could travel to and be normal on vacation, and so people like that, and so they came here in huge numbers. But if you look at what's happening, you're going to have Universal's opening up Epic Universe next year. That's going to be, I think, the biggest park that's ever been done. You're going to end up seeing more in the theme park area. You're seeing more with resorts, golf destinations, all these different things. That is going apace. This semiconductor, if you look at what we've done in Central Florida, you look at what we're doing here, University of Florida, all this, we are in much better position here than we've ever been, not even close, and you're seeing the private sector respond to that. Of course, military and aerospace has been huge. I mean, we've always had a pretty good military footprint. I think that's continued to do well. You see that in different pockets of the state, but the space on the Space Coast is been, I mean, from where we were 15 years ago, that was dead. And now we're in a situation where this is really strong. I mean, we need more capacity at like the ports and all this to be able to accommodate everything that's going there. So we're really the hub of the space industry, commercial space industry, and we're fortunate what other states did, partially because there were so many eggs and only a few baskets. It's a much different picture now. You know, you got a very diversified economy. And I think that's a testament that people want to go. They want to live and work and raise their kids in areas that are positive. Businesses want to be in areas that are good. I think I mean, we're always rated in the top few for business climate, and I think you're going to continue to see that. And we've done a lot to improve that just since, I mean, just how the judiciary has gotten better. It used to be you get it to the Florida Supreme Court, and they would rule against you, and you knew that was happening. Now I think a lot of businesses have faith that, okay, here's what the law says. That's what the law will actually be applied in court all the way up to, and that adds huge amounts of certainty, and that's really good. Of course, no income tax in the state level, and we won't have that, but we've been able to reduce taxes all across the board for consumers and for businesses alike. So this is a really good story. We're going to have more awards from the Job Growth Grant Fund. We're going to have more from the Workforce Capitalization Fund, and so we're not going to rest. We're going to continue going forward. Okay, with that, take a question or two. Sure.
It was only 9 days ago that Donald Trump selected J.D. Vance to be his running mate. I'd like to get your thoughts about that. And on the other side, I know you give advice to Democrats, but there are names being floated for Kamala Harris as running mate. Let's get your thoughts there.
Well, I don't think they'd listen to me. I mean, I think clearly we wanted to run against Biden. You know, I've been dealing with Biden since I've been governor. It's just the reality is he shouldn't have run in 2020. He was in the basement. He used COVID to be able to do that. And then it's really, people have seen the decline over these years. It's just the reality. And when he agreed to do that debate, I told people, I was like, get your popcorn out. This is not going to go well. And it was probably, it's I think without question, the most consequential presidential debate in history, because, and I said it the night after the debate when we were on TV, I said, his campaign ended tonight. It will either officially end at the convention when they pick a new nominee, or it will officially end when he loses in November, because there was no way he was going to be able to win. And so, as a Republican, I wanted them to stick with Biden. I didn't think they would. I knew that this was likely going to be something. And so, to me, I think that the Trump-Vance ticket was an incredibly strong position, against Biden. I think that they can beat whoever comes, but Biden was the guy we went against. Now, if I had to pick someone once Biden stepped, I would probably pick Harris to run against. I think that she's been, her tenure as VP has been disastrous. She was put in charge of the border. The media was running with that in 21. Harris will be the oversee border. Now they're saying, oh no, she wasn't overseeing border. And these are the same reporters who wrote 4 years ago are now writing the opposite. They're running interference for her because of all the failures. That border ranks near the top of the failures of the Biden-Harris administration. And so she was there. If you go back and watch her statements for when she was running for president in the 2020 cycle, I mean, she basically said, have an open border. She wants taxpayer-funded health care and benefits for illegal aliens. She doesn't think you should deport somebody that's come. So she is, as bad as Biden's been on that, she's even more liberal on that. You look, she wanted to get rid of all private health insurance and said, let's just junk all that? Really? How many of you want the government to take away your private health insurance? I don't think a lot of Americans want to sign up to that. She's supported confiscatory tax increases. She's been weak on crime. Now she's saying she's a prosecutor, she's tough. She was raising funds to bail out the rioters during the BLM riots in 2020. Are you kidding me? She was saying that Minneapolis needed to do more of what was going on. So I don't think who she picks is going to make a difference. Now, I've also said, and this is just true, the media turned on Biden after that debate. They had basically tried to cover it. If you had said Biden wasn't up to the job 3 months ago, they would say you're a conspiracy theorist. Then once it was made bare for the whole world to see, they immediately started saying, hey, this guy's got to go. So they knifed him in the back, and they've been going after him. But they're not doing that because they're trying to help Trump. They're doing that because they want the Dems to have a better candidate so that they can beat Trump. And so they are going to elevate Harris, if she ends up being it, in ways that I think is going to, like, people like me are going to be like, you got to be kidding me. But that's what's going to happen. So Republicans need to be prepared. I also think it's possible that, if Harris falls on her face over the next few weeks, I think it's absolutely possible that they go a different direction at the convention. Remember, these are just these delegates can vote who they want to. They're pledging now, but if some of the powers that be say, no, we need to go in a different direction. So I think it's going to be a very interesting 3 or 4 weeks in the political scene. We preferred to run against Biden. I think that was clear because the majority of I think before he dropped out, I think it was like 85% of the public thought that he was not equipped to serve four more years as president. I mean, I don't see how you can win an election if that's the case. And partisanship aside, because I disagree with Biden on his policies, the reality is if someone that was performing at Biden's cognitive level came to me as governor and was applying to be appointed to like a mosquito control board, I would say no. I would say no. You're just not, like, I'm going to go somewhere else. Like, and that's just the reality. So that's what they were facing. That was an insurmountable hurdle, and so they pushed him out. But I like our chances better. Although I will say that, look, I'm not going to give advice about VP, but I will say this. You're starting to hear it on I think CNN and some of these others. You have this governor in Pennsylvania. I don't know much about him. I mean, I saw that he was saying, like, he was supporting gender ideology and a lot of things that I know I wouldn't go for. But people are saying in the media and on the left, well, she can't pick him, because he's Jewish. And I'm just thinking to myself, what does this country come to, or what does this Democrat Party come to, when in order to win the election, they have to virtue signal to the Hamas caucus. That is unacceptable. And if you have to virtue signal to the Hamas caucus to win an election, you should not win that election.
The state's universal school vouchers program expanded last year. It had a bit of a rough rollout with payment delays and communication issues with Step Up. We're hearing that some of
I don't know. I disagree with that. I mean, I'll tell you, when I go around, you know, people come up and say, and like, I'll be around, be in a gas station, be in like a restaurant, and people will come up to me and they will say, my buddy just texted me, so I told him you were here, thank you for the scholarship. Thank you for the scholarship. Parents all across this state are grateful for what we've done, and so I think it's been good. Now, Manny can address, you know, issues on the administrative side.
Right, and please, we're hearing from both sides that yes, parents and providers have said that this has been a successful program, but some schools are not getting paid on time, and communication issues with Step Up. And so I'm curious why these problems persist, and what is the state doing about it that's beyond deadline legislation that lawmakers passed this session, recognizing and acknowledging the payment delays.
Do you want to take?
Yeah, so first of all, the bill passed at the end of session, was signed by the governor, and there had to be an implementation. When you go to the expansion of the eligibility, remember that there has to be a check and balance to assure from the department side to verify the students are not enrolled in a public school at the same time that they're taking the scholarship. So what happened is that first entry, there was a verification process that we had to make sure. What happens is students in a public school, they go and they take the scholarship. Those schools will keep that student as an enrollment until finally they release it before the official count. And that verification process, we had to be assured. So in the first year, there was a 30-day delay purposely from us to make sure that we had cleared that all out. But all of the schools received their payments. On the other end, there's also some misinformation where sometimes they're ready to receive the payment. But remember, on the other end of that, schools have to verify the student's enrollment. There's a process that schools actually have to submit to Step Up to verify that the student is enrolled. And on some occasions, some of these schools were flooded with new enrollments, and it took them a little longer to send that in. All of those processes have been changed and have been streamlined. In fact, Step Up has a brand new CEO who is looking at all these processes to ensure. But overall, it was a success. And yes, there are individual instances where a payment can be delayed if some of those boxes are not checked or some of those documentations are not sent in by private schools.
And the overall point, though, is ultimately, why are we doing education? Why is the state doing it? Is it to benefit bureaucracies? Is it to benefit interests? Or is it to benefit students and to benefit families? And our approach to education is the whole purpose of this, when we go out there and talk, it's to benefit students and to give opportunities for families. Now, not every family prior to these programs had the means to be able to send their child to the school of their choice. We've addressed that in a number of different ways, but most significantly with this universal choice program. So now, like if you're in Pinellas County, you have scholarship, you can go to private school. You have options for charter schools, which are public, but they're not controlled by the school district, and they're entitled to no students. You know, it's like when I was growing up, like, you know, I lived in Dunedin. Dunedin, you'd have a certain number of kids. That's where you went, right? They're entitled to no students, and so they have to produce a product that parents are going to say, that's where I want to send my kids. But then even within the school district, you have opportunities to go to different programs. You can go to school across town, across the county, whatnot. And so a parent in Florida has real agency. They have real serious choices that they can make to better the lives of their children and to give their kids an opportunity to do very, very well. That is meaningful. That is something that no other state has done at our level. And I think what Florida has done has caused other states to follow through and to continue on this. And what you're going to see now, because the money follows the student, that's in Florida law, there's going to be people that are going to be able to start schools knowing if I get 300 kids from southern part of Pinellas County, if those families want to come, I know the money's going to be there. Some of them may have been able to afford that, but maybe some of them not. But now, because the money falls to the student, we're going to be doing it. So this is also opening up entrepreneurship opportunities within the realm of education. And parents are going to have so much power to be able to make these decisions, and the places that do well are going to prosper. And if parents are choosing not to go to other areas, then they're not going to do as well. But I would point out, Florida's ranked #1 in education last 2 years in a row. If you look at our charter schools, so this isn't even talking about the step up and the scholarships. These are all public schools, charter schools. Our population now that's in there is about 400,000 students. Now that is as much or more than probably the K-12 population of half the states in this country. So you have 400,000 students, disproportionately low income, disproportionately racial, ethnic minority. Those 400,000 charter students, if that was its own separate state, they'd rank in the top 5 in student achievement in this country. So this is something that has worked. We would not be where we are without this. And I think Manny's handling all, I think they're working through all that. But let's look at the big issue here is that we have led in ways that have empowered parents like no other state, that have given kids opportunities that they would have never had in most other states and would not have even had in Florida in the past. And that is a success story.
Governor, in Hillsborough County, the school board is now suing the county commission to try to get a property tax increase referendum on the ballot to raise teacher pay. I'm just curious, have you been following the situation?
You do not need to raise anybody's taxes. Why are you trying to raise property taxes in the midst of some of the worst inflation we've seen in the modern history of this country? You need to be able to manage the budget. How come we're not raising taxes at the state level? How come we're cutting taxes? And oh, by the way, this year's budget, we have $1.25 billion, a categorical, it can only be used to increase teacher salaries. That's the only thing it could be used for. But then we also had a massive increase in the base student allocation, so that money goes to the districts. Hillsborough can take a lot of that money and raise teacher salaries. So we've done so much at the state level that I think if they manage properly, they're going to be able to do their part at the local level. But demanding tax increases is absolutely not the way to go. And I think that you're going to see some changes probably in this election on the school board, because I think taxpayers are sick of it. You know, why don't you manage things better rather than trying to come and jack up people's taxes? It's just not the right thing to do. So. So the questions about University of Florida and the vacancy there in the presidential office. Well, one, I would just say we have a lot of great people, Floridians, and even people that aren't Floridians who have connections to the state, who've served on the Board of Governors and on the various boards. And I would say the University of Florida's board has really, really high-quality people. And I think they've done a fantastic job. They'll be really the ones that are going to be leading that effort. But what we want to do is we want somebody that's going to lead. We want to be very clear that we're dedicated to the pursuit of truth in higher education. We're dedicated to academic rigor and high standards. And we're dedicated to these institutions playing an important role in preparing our students to be citizens of this republic. We do not want our institutions of higher education to turn into propaganda machines like Columbia University. We don't want to have a situation where all these demonstrators take over the university, where they harass Jewish students and do. So we've seen higher education go off the rails in other parts of the country. I think that has done incalculable damage to those institutions' brands and reputations. I think it's hurt their academic quality. And so we have an opportunity to continue on a strong path, but we've got a lot more to do that says, you know what, that's not what higher education's all about. We're going to have a place where people are going to be able to explore ideas. We're going to have a place where there's order in the court and you're not having the inmates run the asylum. But we are going to be focused on actual strong academic achievement. And I'd note one of the things that we've done since I've been governor is we said, you know, just because you get tenure, that is not a license to stop working. And if you talk to people who've done universities around the country, who've overseen them, ran universities, been on boards, the number one financial drag on universities is unproductive tenured faculty. So what we did is we created a law that said all tenured professors must undergo review every 5 years and can be let go for poor performance. And so you've seen that happen in some instances. I think you'll continue to see a churn. But we didn't just say do that. We gave $100 million to the universities, so a president of a university or the board, they can go recruit new faculty. So if you got somebody that's doing well in engineering at MIT, they're making $200,000, you can offer them $250,000. If you got a history professor at Princeton that we want to come to be in our Hamilton Center for Western Civilization Studies at UF, you can go and you can make an offer and bring them on board. So I think there's an opportunity for a president of UF or any of our institutions, because we do have more that are up for grabs, and you're going to see that unfold. You have an opportunity to really attract high-quality talent. We're giving you the resources to be able to put the money where your mouth is. Look, you know, there's a lot of these professors, and you see at Columbia, you see some of the nonsense. Like, to me, I don't want to spend a cent on that. But we've got some really good people that are doing, I'll pay them more. Let's pay more to recruit and retain the folks that really are doing, I think, what we want to see. So it's a good opportunity, but I will let that board lead and explore kind of how that is going to go about. You know, I was not somebody that was involved necessarily in their past selection. That was something that they were, and it just, I don't know how it developed. Someone said you should check this out, but that's what happened. So I'll let them lead that effort, because I have confidence that they're going to do something that is going to be really, really good. And, you know, when you have U.S. News, I think, had UF 5 for public universities, so that's behind Berkeley, UCLA, Michigan, and Virginia. You know, those are universities. I mean, Virginia's been around since Thomas Jefferson. I mean, that's a long time. So for us to be in there, and then we're also, I think, Georgia Tech's in there, North Carolina, you know, that is a really great spot to be in. Wall Street Journal had UF ranked 15th overall in America, public or private. So, but they were the top-rated public, but just think, to be 15th overall, I mean, you've got a lot of good private universities out there. I mean, you got MIT, you know, you've got, you know, these Ivy League schools used to be, I think, viewed as the pinnacle. I think that's lost the luster with how they've behaved over the last recent years, and I think you're starting to see people recognize that. I mean, donors are pulling back money. They're not funding these universities like they used to. You're seeing some people in, like, you know, high echelons of society that would have opportunity to send their kids wherever they want, now balking at sending them to some of these. And that was not even 10 years ago, when you could see some of the negative trends in academia. You were not seeing people actually doing that. Now you're starting to see that. So I just think it creates an opportunity, not just at UF, but all around the state. I mean, University of South Florida is one of the top 50 public universities in this country, year in, year out. It's ranked there. Florida State is one of the top 15 universities, public universities. That was not true if you go back 20, 25 years ago. So we've got good momentum. You know, FIU down in Miami, we created something called the Adam Smith Center for Economic Freedom. And what that's been is kind of a focal point for economic and political freedom all throughout the Western Hemisphere. They've had a number of former heads of state from different Latin American countries have been a lot of them have been fellows there, and they're doing that. And trust me, in Latin America, we need a new birth of freedom, because the governments there are not doing well, and they're going very, very left. So it's interesting the niche that has done. I think this Hamilton Center at University of Florida, I think 5 years from now, people will look and say that it's the premier academic center for the study of Western civilization in the entire country. And that's going to be something that's going to be really, really meaningful.
What about the data breach? What is the state doing about that?
I'll go. You already asked. Let me go there.
They have accusations. He has been admitted to court because supposedly he shared pictures of Madeleine Soto's body. What do you think about that?
I didn't necessarily,
The sheriff from
Osceola?
Osceola summoned to court because accusations of he shared pictures of Madeleine Soto's body. What do you think about that?
So I don't have all the facts on that. I mean, I heard that there's an investigation going on. We'll see kind of how all that shakes out. You know, I will just say this just generally. I spoke at the sheriff's conference yesterday. We've got a lot of really good sheriffs in this state, and we're fortunate. You know, I was there with Grady Judd from Polk County. You know, it's like, I mean, I could be in like, you know, I was in the Republican National Convention in Wisconsin. I had Wisconsin people asking me about Grady Judd. So we're proud of that. This year, because Miami-Dade has changed, they're going to have an elected sheriff. So we're going to have 67 sheriffs throughout the state of Florida, and we've worked very closely with them, and we understand how important it is to maintain law and order. That's not happening in all parts of the country. So we're seeing. But one of the points I made yesterday is, yes, we focus on, I mean, you know, we have the squatters taking over people's houses. We ended that scam in Florida very quickly. You have some of the retail theft rings. We cracked down on that. They had a ring in New York. I think a lot of people were here illegally who were in that ring, and they're stealing all this stuff. They're selling stuff, and then they're vacationing in Florida. And they're like, well, why don't you just steal in Florida and stay down there? And like, well, no, you steal in Florida, you go to jail. They're stealing in New York where nothing happens to them. So we've been dealing with these things, I think, in a very positive way. That's why the crime rate's at a 50-year low. But what I think that we're seeing, and these are just discussions I'm having with people that are not in government anymore, but are plugged in across the world, former military, former intel. The Afghanistan withdrawal, you left massive amounts of equipment. Obviously, you abandoned the field to the Taliban. I think the view of Biden was, well, the Taliban is moderate, but what you're seeing is, you know, the terror training camps are back. And, you know, you could say, well, that's on the other side of the world. How does that affect us? Well, it affects us because we have an open border. Like, yes, if they couldn't get to our country, then maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. I mean, I still think there's ways they could do damage. But you have an open border. That is how they are going to want to do this. And so, you know, these are folks who have sources there, and this is all just like, you know, open source stuff. They're saying that this is going on, and they're trying to move people in, and they probably already have across the border, and they're not going to do another 9/11 like World Trade Center, or maybe they will, but that's not really the focus. The focus is, you know, trying to replicate what happened on October 7th, doing that in a community in the United States, which is bad enough. But I think what's even more scary is the federal government, I think their view in these agencies is that somehow jihadi terrorism is a thing of the past. It is not a thing of the past. And their view is, well, we've got other things. If you ask them, you know, what is their biggest fear of terrorism, I think they'd say it's white people, believe it or not. I don't think they would say it's jihadi terrorism. So they're not, this is not the agencies of September 12th, 2001, and after that, where that was like the primary focus. So what they're telling people is, you know, if there's potential terrorist activity, it's really more of a local issue. Well, the problem with that is, you know, sheriffs are not getting intelligence briefings about what's going on at the border across, or, you know, we're not at the state level plugged in like the FBI or the agency or some of these other areas. And it even got to the point where, you know, someone registered a complaint saying, hey, this is suspicious, and the response from DHS was, well, talk to your local authorities. And they said, well, who? And they're like, your local division of emergency management. Let me tell you, we're proud of our emergency management team at the local and state level. There's no other state you don't want to be in a hurricane, but if you do, you want Florida responding. And they do great, and they do great across a whole host of things. We rescue people from Israel. We rescue people from Haiti. We do all that. But those agencies are not counterterrorism agencies. That is just not their function. So if the feds are abandoning the field, that is going to lead to more soft targets being available throughout this country. And I just told the sheriffs, I was like, look, this may just be something that we're going to have to build up and be ready to counteract, because I don't think, you know, it's funny, I said, I think last fall, I was like, you know, terrorists have come across the border. And first of all, DHS has said that there are hundreds of people on the terror watch list who they've caught coming across the border. And that's just who they've caught. And, you know, some of the media go, oh, that's not true or whatever. And people have been arrested to be affiliated with it. I mean, clearly this has happened. But even if you didn't have any evidence of it, are you honestly telling me that you could have 10 million people pour across the border illegally and our enemies not seek to exploit that even one time? It defies credulity to think that that could be possible. So this is a threat. You know, I let the sheriffs know this is something we're going to have to take serious. I thought that how they left Afghanistan was a disgrace to this country. The fact that we lost 13 service members was a disgrace to this country. And you know, I think it's also just important to point out, in light of that, in light of the dishonor that came with that operation, the people that served defending in the global war on terrorism, although the veterans, we got a lot of veterans in the Tampa Bay area, you know, that service was very, very meaningful. Who would have thought that after 9/11, we wouldn't have had another 9/11? Most people thought this was going to be happening, and part of the reason that didn't happen is because those folks were out there risking their lives for us. And so for the veterans who particularly served in that theater, just know there's a lot of people that understand the sacrifice and really appreciate it. I know that it wasn't appreciated with how things have gone down, but it was very, very meaningful service. Okay, guys, I got to run. Thank you.